Welcome to Director's Notes. Thank you for taking the time. You are a very beloved alum of Director's Notes and can't wait to talk to you about your latest film. So if you just want to sort of open up and tell me a little bit about The Unfair Sex.
Sure thing. Firstly, thank you so much for having me again. I think it's my fourth time being featured, and I will never ever get bored or it will never get old. So I'm so honored, and I'm so happy to be premiering with you guys. Well, with us guys, because I'm also part of the team. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. No preference.
I get no special treatment though, right?
No, not at all.
There you go. So The Unfair Sex. How it started, basically, it had been quite some time since I finished my previous project, a personal project, Freeze Frame. And basically with these things, because I have a full-time job, I kind of get this itch every few months to do something on the side, to do something in my spare time. And so it had been quite some time since I finished the previous one. And I was kind of looking for inspiration, for an idea, but it wasn't there. And then a friend of mine sent me a video on Instagram, which featured this woman who was saying these words that were written by Kaylee Crester. Her words are amazing. So the original script is based on those words. I did edit them and I changed them and I gave it the title and I added a few lines of my own and shortened it. But yeah, it's very much her words that struck a chord, and the whole thing is based on her words. So yes. She takes a huge part of the credit.
Nice. And I mean, a lot of your other work is brilliant, very sort of female-centric. Was there a specific reason that you wanted to do something sort of female around this time with all the madness that's going on?
Well, yes. So I never really thought of myself as a feminist per se. There's a lot attached to the word.
It's a loaded word, yeah.
I don't necessarily believe in wholeheartedly. I think there's been so much going on, and I've been thinking about it so much. And then of course with the recent Roe versus Wade thing happening, that kind of happened towards the end of me making this. It hadn't happened, so I was kind of missing the last 10 seconds of the animation, and because I didn't know how to end it quite. And then that happened and it just kind of all came together and it felt really right. But to get back to your question, I kind of just make stuff because it's a passion project. You have to be passionate about what you make, otherwise you're never going to complete it. And so whatever it is, if it's dancing in the past or winter sports, something that I'm hugely passionate about. And this, of course, I'm at an age where there's babies popping all around me. I have so much pressure as a woman in her mid-30s, from my own family and from friends and from my own self.
Yeah.
That there are certain expectations of me. I have friends who are going through IVF treatments. I have friends who have miscarried. I have friends who don't want children and are being judged. And all of this, a sponge that absorbs it all. And I wanted this film to resonate with all sorts of people, not just women, because this film is it's not really anti-men, which some people might think. It's more like a lot of these pressures that women live with come from other women, and it's generally society and the way we've been brought up and the way that we've understood the world around us and the pressures that we take upon ourselves. All of this plays part in it. And then the ban on abortion just seemed like such an insane step backwards.
It's mad.
To take. It was such a mad thing. It was like watching The Handmaid's Tale unravel and spill into real life, and it's just such a scary time. And it kind of gave me, ironically, the perfect ending to the film. I just wanted to hit that home. And then the other part of it was, all those women that disappear and get raped and murdered, and so many of them, since the Sarah Everard horrific murder, there's been so many that didn't even make it to the news.
Yeah.
Loads of women of color just were never written about. I had just before Christmas, we heard that a woman had been raped just in the common, the park outside my building, just a couple of days before Christmas, and she had gone on more early morning jog through the park at 5 a.m. and she got raped, and it was just at my doorstep. And, you know, it didn't make the news because it just happens so often. And then there's the other side of me where, you know, I would be very scared to walk home at night alone. I'd make a point to call my partner or a friend, or even pretend that I'm on the phone if it's too late. And it's just, and then you find yourself so angry that you have to do these things, and yet you don't know what will happen if you don't do these things, you see? And it's just,
yeah, I get it.
Frustration and anger and fear all kind of combined together. And I think that, yeah, this is kind of like my way of getting it out of myself, and it kind of has been quite therapeutic in a lovely way. And then hearing people's reactions to it, not just women, men as well. I've only shown it to a few of you lovely people that I feel close enough, and, you know, I count on their opinions. And so I've been showing like bits of it to my closest friends and family, and seeing and hearing their reactions has been so positive. And I couldn't ask for more, really. Everyone seems to have resonated with some parts of it.
Yeah.
And you know, where depending on where they are in life, they resonate with something more than other bits, and they understand some bits better than other bits. So it's really quite humbling.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's well deserved. I mean, as soon as I watched the film, I was like, I feel these things. And like you said, you've got friends going through things. Yeah, same, mid-30s, babies coming out, everything. So just, I don't know, just me as a woman, and just, yeah, it's incredible. Like, you've managed to tap into so many different areas of life that just all come together. And it's a bit of a mess, like you said.
It's such a mess, isn't it? But thank you. It's so important to me. I'm so happy that you liked it, and, you know, it made you feel what I wanted you to feel. Yeah. And it is a mess. There's so much going on. Hopefully it's not super straightforward. Hopefully it gives you it pushes you to maybe give it another watch and maybe get something that you didn't get the first time. That would be the best thing that I could ask for, really.
Yeah. So a lot of like you said, the words came from Kaylee, but you said you edited some of it. So what did you decide the themes and the main subjects were that you wanted to include?
So that's exactly kind of how I went through it, because initially, firstly, it was quite a lot longer, of course. So the first thing I did was give it the title, The Unfair Sex, which I thought was quite ingenious. And then I just decided, because it was kind of jumping from bits back to different bits. So it would kind of touch upon marriage. Then it would move on to, say, babies and motherhood. Then it would jump back to marriage. So firstly cleaned it up, made it a little bit more simplified, split it into kind of like sections. So okay, the first section is going to be about your physical beauty and aging and the expectations around that. Then the next bit's going to be about motherhood. The next bit's going to be about marriage. And then the last section I added myself was that section about don't say this, don't do that, don't go there. And this was entirely because I wanted to give a nod to the women that disappear from our streets and sadly get raped and tragically get murdered. That was very important to me to add that in, because some of these women, as I said, it happens so often, and a lot of it has been at my doorstep. That Sarah Everard disappeared from Brixton, which is where I go every single week. And I've been on these roads, and I've gone through these roads at home, and as these things always go, it kind of, when it's close to home, it hits harder. Yes, so I added that bit in. Yeah. I added the bit in where it's about you're asking for it, because this alludes to the whole, you know, if you look provocative, if you're wearing the wrong thing, if you go to the wrong place, if you're drunk, it's your fault. Yeah. Which is not a male perspective. It's very much an all-encompassing perspective. Very often other women say the same stuff, like, well, but was she drunk? Or was she wearing something really revealing?
Yeah, it comes from everywhere.
It is everywhere. In Western culture, it's just embedded in us, and it is changing in the right direction, but it's not there yet. It's far from there. If we can hear it from other women in our generation, then it's not fixed, and it has to be, in order for it to spread, you know, wider than that.
Yeah, no, you're right. If we're still talking about it, then it means that something needs to be done.
Yeah. Did you ever see that advert? I can't remember what it was, like a sports. I don't know, it was Adidas or something. It was like semi-recent. It featured this woman getting up at 2 a.m. and putting her trainers on and like going for a run through like, I think it was like New York in the middle of the night. And she's all like happy and running. And the whole time I watched it, I was like, this is terrifying. How can they think this is fine? And of course, it got like a huge backlash about how ill-informed and like tone deaf it was, and how unaware those filmmakers were to even create such a thing that just can't happen.
Yeah, I can't imagine there are many women who would feel comfortable about doing that.
No, as much as we should. We're not there yet, unfortunately.
No, we're not there yet. And especially with your headphones on and everything, I've got a terrible habit of it. Put my headphones on and I ignore the world. But then actually you do need to be a bit more aware of what's going on. Yeah, and who's there.
Why should we? We shouldn't have to. That's the thing. That's the thing.
I should be able to blast out my murder podcasts into my ears.
Absolutely, I think so. Hey, hopefully we'll get there. But you know, we have to all do it together, like men, women, everyone. You know, it's the only way.
No, I totally agree. So talking then back again about your themes and the bit that you added on at the end, the film has two great sort of color palettes. It moves from the pink and the sort of light into the darker and the red. Why did you decide that? Can you tell me more?
So if you're making a film, whether it's 1 minute long, 10 minutes long, or feature length, you want to hold people's attention. You want, like, pace is super important. You don't want this to be a monotonous kind of one level story without any kind of arc or any kind of pause or switch of tempo. And I strongly believe that even for a 69-second video, it holds true. So part of it was like, I had to, even when I was animating it myself, I needed to kind of change something to keep my, you know, my energy up. And I knew that, okay, so right from the start, I planned for something to happen when the baby moment happened. Because that's such a key part of a woman's life. When the babies come and everything changes. I think everyone can agree with that. I haven't spoken to a single person that says like, hey, everything stayed the same when I had the baby. Like,
no, not really.
Exactly. So it felt like a really good moment in the animation to like mix things up. And then, I wanted the chaos to like ensue from that point on. I wanted it to be bolder and brighter and louder and faster. And so I was kind of working my way through that because, as you know, animating is a very, very long process. Like, you know, by the end of the day, I want to sometimes just like throw my laptop out the window kind of vibe. And so that was kind of keeping me going. And so part of it was just to hold people's interest, to give you a little bit of a surprise. You don't want to watch 10 seconds of it and then to have seen it all. You want to be surprised. You want to mix things up. You want to play with the energy and the vibe and the colors and the pace. And that was naturally that moment with the babies. And I really, really wanted to have real childbirth in there. So I watched a lot of horrible videos, which I think I've seen a lot. And very little shocks me. I'm a huge horror fan and I love gory stuff. But watching those birth videos, which
that's real life horror.
really, really shocking stuff there. I also thought weirdly, I thought as soon as the baby comes out, it starts crying. So that was going to be like my moment when the music kicked in. But it turns out they don't do that. they wait a little bit, you know. I don't know. They clean their noses and stuff.
I mean, I just probably know a lot of it through TV and films, so it's all nicely packaged.
And you know, in films, it's usually over in like 5 minutes. You have a lot of screaming, and then it's like fine. I've never watched like One Born Every Minute, but apparently they show a lot of stuff there. But from what I've seen from like mainstream films and short films, you don't really see the extent of it. And I wanted to get right in there, pun intended, and just show all the guts and glory of the whole process.
Oh yeah, no. And sort of going back to the film spoke to me so much, my friends, I can't wait to show all of them that. Ones who have had babies and they've told me about the horror stories. And like you said, friends who are going through fertility issues and everything. Honestly, I'm so excited.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to share it as well. Oh.
So talking back to, you mentioned the music, when the music comes in. So I've seen that you've, in some of your previous videos, you've used Music Library. But all of your tracks seem to fit beautifully. How do you find them?
Oh, thank you. So the music was actually such a huge, huge part of this whole short film, because whilst I had Kaylee's words and I edited them down and I had a title and I had everything that I wanted, I still had no idea what the visuals would be. I didn't know what the pace was going to be, or even the mood. So I had these words and I was like, I couldn't even figure out how they were going to be read out. I thought, is it going to be angry? Is it going to be sarcastic? Is it going to be really moving and sad and poignant? And so I started looking through like royalty-free music libraries. And I genuinely spent hours and hours and I hated everything. Nothing felt right. And the thing is, I didn't know what I was looking for. Yeah. But yet I was hoping that something would, click in place and it would feel right. And then I decided, after almost losing the will to live, to contact June, who actually also gave me her music for two of my animations, Flawed and XX, both of which you guys did very kindly. She's this amazing musician. She writes everything herself and she sings it and performs it. And the reason why I didn't contact her from the very start was because I know that she had a new album out. And I knew that she had a label and an agent and had been quite successful. So I thought there's no chance that she'll have anything for me. But I messaged her just on the off chance. And I was like, hi, it's me. Hello. I've got this new idea for an animation. And I was wondering if you've got like a track that's not attached to anyone or like a label or a license. And she immediately, without even asking anything about my animation, anything at all, she said, oh my gosh, absolutely, you can use anything from my new album, just let me know what you like. And it was just such an incredible vote of confidence. Her album is called Dream Again, and she just sent me a link to it, and then of course I was like, what if I don't like any of them? That's going to be really awkward. But my god, that track just felt absolutely right, and it completely inspired the whole animation. I owe so much to it, and I asked her, I was like, look, this one track, it's called ET, I love it, she's going to use it. She's like, of course, it's yours. And then I told her about what I was thinking of doing. But yeah, just the fact that she just offered me her music without even knowing anything about what I wanted to do with it was just such an incredible vote of confidence. And yeah, she's absolutely amazing. So yeah,
that's a credit to you as well, and the fact she's worked with you on previous work. If you like someone's work and you feel a connection to that somehow, that always comes through.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I'm just glad that she likes it now. Like, imagine she watched it when it was done and she was like, this is
I mean, that would be an awkward conversation. Yeah, no more.
No, but thankfully she likes it. And yeah, it completely inspired the visuals. I was so stuck before I had that track, and I nearly gave it up, and then it really did click into place. So I owe her a lot.
So did that literally open the whole film up to you?
Genuinely did. Like, I had the music, then I cut it, the instrumental version, until the very end where the lyrics kick in. I recorded a guide voiceover with my voice, which dictated the tempo, which then dictated where the cuts would be, and then yeah, it all happened from there.
And so your day job is an editor, correct?
That's right, a video editor.
Does that feed into your passion projects as well?
For sure. So as a rotoscope animator who can't animate for shit otherwise, my projects always start with a timeline. We use DaVinci for editing. So all my animated projects, they all start as an edit. So I grab videos, I record videos myself if I can't quite find the right thing. It's so great that I kind of get away from the whole copyright issue because I'm animating it, so that's okay. I hear. Yeah. And then also if there's something that I can't find, then I can, usually film it myself. So I actually filmed a few of those shots, like with a carrot.
Okay, yeah, I particularly like that shot. I can imagine it's going to make a lot of men wince. Like, oh.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to do. Even I was watching it and I didn't have a penis and I was like, oh. Oh.
Totally, yeah. Actually, everyone says that that's their favorite shot, so I'm really glad.
There you go.
It was fun to watch. It was fun to film, rather.
And find the right size carrot.
Yeah, exactly. That carrot was, decapitated. Yes, to go back to your question, editing absolutely plays a huge part with the pace and the timing and the shots and the cutting. I knew from the start that I wanted there to be a lot of transitioning rather than straight cuts. So I really wanted to have as many different women to morph into one another as possible. So I kind of avoided straight cuts unless it was a cut to a completely different scene, as in thematically. Otherwise, I tried to morph everything, which is always a lot of fun as well, trying to figure out how one shape can become another shape. This is when you take it beyond the edit and you kind of rely on your artistic skill, and then you spend about 2 days doing it, and then you export it and it looks awful, and then you do it again. This is just great. It's all part of the fun.
So how long does it all take you, like from the start of the project until having it out?
So this one took 5 weeks. So bear in mind
that's amazing.
So this is also all around my full-time job. Thing that happens though when I do embark on these personal projects is that I become absolutely obsessed with them, to an extent that where I spend pretty much every spare minute of my life working on it. And if I'm not working on it, I'm thinking about it, and I'm kind of working on it in my head. And it's a very exhausting time. And I would normally start working on it from like 6 a.m. until like 8, and then work on my normal job. And then as soon as that finishes, I would jump back on this and work into the late evening. Then would normally like start watching something and I would be thinking about it. And then obviously the weekends, and thankfully at Nice and Serious, the creative agency where I work, we've been trialing a 4-day week.
Okay.
So I've had my Fridays free as well. So I've been completely consumed by it, and it always is the same. And I get into a state where it's almost like physically painful not to work on it. I know it's a little bit like obsessive and compulsive, but it is what it is, and it makes these things happen. And as you say, it's relatively quickly. I think that if I was free every day to work on it, it would probably have been more like 2 to 3 weeks. But it's actually going to be really nice to have my weekends back now.
There you go. Until you find your next project, you're free for a while.
Exactly. But until then, I'm just going to relax and like enjoy this time. This is the best time at the end of a project, when you've done all the hard work, and if you're reasonably happy with it, then it's just magical a little bit.
So do I dare ask you what's coming next?
I've got a passion project starting that I'll be directing at work. So a passion project is when we have an idea and the agency gives us an opportunity to use the team and our equipment and our skills and anything. As long as it's a good idea, then we almost treat it as a work project, as a paid project, which it's not. And so I'll be doing a short film to raise awareness about drowning. I heard this podcast about drowning, and it literally shook me to my core about how horrific it is. And with summer and everything going on right now, I think it's a very important thing to talk about, especially for people with kids.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing that very, very quickly, because there's World Prevention of Drowning Day coming up in July. So we want to kind of like have it for then, but it's going to be hopefully a really moving story about this woman called Becky, and she lost her son to drowning almost 11 years to the day. And so that's that. But as for personal projects, we'll see. I'm sure there'll be another one, and you'll be first to know for sure.
Okay, good. Well, thank you so much. This has been brilliant.
Thank you. I loved it as well. Thank you. Thank
Um,
you. Honestly, your support means the world.